Well, David, we're back with another great episode of the San Antonio Realty Pros podcast.
It's been a hot minute.
It has. We've been slacking a little bit here lately.
Even our roadcaster was messing up. All the dust got into it. And reset it.
For sure. Well, we've got a special guest on today, so I want to let you go ahead and introduce her.
Sure. So just to kind of do a little foreshadowing, I guess. So I'm part of Tom Ferry's coaching, and I'm on a morning mastermind with a bunch of the nation's top realtors. And Cindy Pressgraves, she is in that mastermind, and she is a firecracker and a ball of energy, and she's just got a tremendous backstory. And so we're going to bring her on and kind of talk about that. She's actually got a book coming out too. And
nice.
So just a bunch of stuff we're going to talk about. So Cindy, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Well, thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me on your... Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Hey, not a problem.
You're welcome. So my book is actually being published next month. It's called Becoming Successful in Real Estate. How I sold my first $15 million as a single mom. I also was a military spouse, and it talks a little bit of everything.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing I was talking to Steven about. So you had your first podcast last week, and so I listened to it, and there's like several things that just kind of stuck out with me and resonated with me. I was already impressed by your intelligence and analytical thinking when it comes to problem solving and things like that. But just kind of hearing some of your background is phenomenal and motivating. And that's why I wanted to have you on here, because we've got a lot of female realtors out there that, you know, they may have a similar, or people that are looking to aspire to get their real estate license that may have a similar background like you. And I think you would be a fantastic motivational point for them in their lives. So the first thing that stuck out with me was the fact that you failed your test. Was it 8 times, 7 times?
8 times.
8 times.
I did fail my test 8 times.
Usually that's a red flag, but I mean, it turned out great.
But what sticks out with me? Go ahead. Oh, so what sticks out with me though is how many people would have quit after the 3rd?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Or the 4th, or the 5th. I'm not going to go all the way to 8, but I mean, to me, that just proves that you have the drive to succeed in anything that you put your mind to. And I think that's fantastic and motivating for so many people, regardless of gender or even career field. I mean, that's phenomenal.
Definitely. I mean, and a lot of people, it's just like, you fail the first time, second time, third time, and it becomes expensive. Don't get me wrong, but I see it as, you know what, some people may feel like, oh my gosh, you failed your test 8 times. Okay. But you know what? I did not give up. You got to look at things in the positive side, not negative side. And it's turning that negative outcome into a positive outcome, and how determined you are to succeed in things in life, not giving up on anything.
Yeah, I agree 100%. There's so many millionaires and billionaires out there that didn't become famous or rich until they were like late into their 40s, and they failed multiple businesses. I mean, just continue to fail, but they just kept trying. Hey, we're going to change it up a little bit here. We're going to do something different here. We're going to maybe even change directions completely, but they didn't give up.
Yeah. And I'll be honest, you know, knowing that, you know, I'd kind of use that as an asset, right? Because like me, if I didn't know anything about real estate, and hey, you've been in real estate for 3 years now, it took you 8 times to get your license, that tells me you have tenacity. And that tells me you wouldn't give up on yourself, so you're not going to give up on me. So I'd be more apt to work with you than somebody else. So that's phenomenal.
Definitely. I mean, it's just like one of my, like, I have had several clients, and it's like at the beginning, now I usually show 3 houses and we're good to go. That you're going to get some of these clients that you're like, oh my gosh, what's going on? We don't find a house. We don't exceed their expectations. And I have 2 clients. One of them, I showed them 47 houses. And the other one, it was around that amount of time, but they had unique needs. And it's just, you got to learn how to listen to your clients. But it's not about just showing them 3 houses and that's it. I mean, yes, that would be the ideal situation. But you also, like I said, you need to learn how to listen to your clients and make sure that you're fulfilling all their needs. And sometimes it's being realistic with the situation too.
Yeah, 100%.
So you work in the Georgia market, And we've kind of talked, and your market is very similar to the market here in San Antonio, where it's just pure insanity. Like I think right now we have about a month of inventory. What's the inventory like over there?
Here's like a couple of days. I'm thinking it's like 5 days. Wow. Houses are not, if it's priced right, it's not even lasting 24 hours. Right now, some of my listings, they're not even hitting the market actually. I mean, I have them coming soon. I get a listing agreement and all that. But even before hitting the market, it's just, they go under contract.
Yeah.
It's insane. And so one thing that we've kind of talked about too is how our markets are similar in the fact that it's getting harder and harder to get VA loans accepted. So are you finding that there more and more now?
So, okay, so Georgia. Okay, so as a previous military spouse, I lived in Minot, North Dakota. If you don't know, if you're military, that's where the best come north.
Why not? Why not?
Why, that is correct. But so my transition moving from a military community to a non-military community has been very, very different. So down here in Georgia, because I live in a non-military community, people do not know how to work with VA. And unfortunately, they turn those down. But if you have the right agent, believe me, anything will go through as long as it'll pass VA. So actually, one of the guys from our mastermind, Craig, he has a client that he referred to me from West Virginia to Atlanta. And he had been working with this client somebody else has been working with this client for a month and a half. And I was the one that actually got them under contract within less than a week. And guess what? You're not going to believe what I'm going to tell you.
They're a VA.
VA, yes, full asking price. We didn't go over asking price or anything, and they're fixing everything that we requested.
Wow, nice. Is the seller?
Yes.
Do you know if the seller was a veteran?
No, it's not. This one is a totally different story because the seller was desperate. Oh. That's what I'm saying. When you look at those properties, also take into consideration those properties that are back on market as well. That's going to help you, because keep in mind that once they go on the market and they're back on the market, the seller already has a house under contract and they need to sell quickly, close quickly.
Yeah, no, and that's something I just started doing with one of my clients because we were getting into multiple offer scenarios, or getting into where if we submitted an offer, we knew it was going to be a multiple offer scenario, and he's got limited funds. So I was like, let's just change the strategy. Let's go and just look at back on markets instead of news, because a lot of times those become stigmatized for no reason, right? When people see back on market, they're all like, oh, I wonder what happened with that. Must have had a bad inspection. But I take the time to read the agent confidential remarks if they put them in there. And most of them is they backed out for financing. Like one of them was the person buying it was an investor and wanted the solar panels taken off, and the seller wouldn't take the solar panels off. Just all kinds of, like, that should have been figured out ahead of time, like in the contract.
Yeah.
But there's only one of them was an inspection issue, and then they put the inspection report right on there, and it was fairly clean. I mean, for the age of the house, I thought it was a pretty good inspection report. But hitting those back on markets now. And another thing that's going on too is what I found. I haven't done this yet, but I keep it handy in my bag. Is when you put in this market, you might have to put out 4 or 5 offers at one time and hope one sticks. And something may happen where they got one under contract, and then one they like better came back on market, and they back out of your contract and go in that other one. So there's a lot of back on markets going on now. Do you see that going on?
Definitely. I do. But what I have found is having a solid communication with a listing agent. If you can get a hold of the listing agent, just be clear with them, be honest from the beginning, and see if you can develop that connection with them. Because if you develop that connection, and I tell this to other agents that have not worked with me before, I'm like, look at my reviews, look at my experience. This is going to be a solid deal. When I work with someone, I make sure that it's solid completely. I'm not going to waste your time. I know I'll make everything go through. Yeah. And some of the times that works, and some of the times, you know what, they come back to me.
Yeah. Well, Cindy does a thorough background check. She like gets their net worth, their marital status, like fingerprints. She does like a 23andMe kind of thing.
Nice.
I mean, they're fully vetted. I mean, they get an over 40 physical if they're over 40, maybe even if they're younger. I mean, she's very thorough with her vetting process.
Yeah.
So
it's like, well, the wife's expecting, so we might need a fourth bedroom.
right. So now, what other kind of uniqueness are you having over there with the market?
It's basically the uniqueness of the market is, you know what? I've been having a lot of people from New York, California, Florida. A lot of people from Florida coming over.
They're getting out
and
from all
cash
the people
buyers.
going in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and a lot of people looking for new construction. Like I was right now talking to an agent, new building, new construction, and he's like, "Look, we don't have anything available till February. That's when we're going to close." And I was like, "Wow, yeah." I mean, but this is what I tell my clients. Look, if you're looking at a 1 year, 6 months to a year, let's get you into new construction. Because you'll have that equity there. You'll get that low interest rate right now. And once you move, you'll have equity. I mean, who wouldn't love to have $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 of equity once they move into their new home?
It's happening to this guy right here.
Yeah.
I got a house under contract at 310 at the end of February. And right now that model that I've got starting out 380.
Yeah. It's insanity.
See?
Yeah. So I'm hoping they raise the price. I close on June 30th. So I'm hoping they do another price increase before the end of the month.
Yeah.
So it'll probably be at 400,000 by end of July. Then easily. That's awesome.
Yeah. So, do you see builders over there? So every state's a little bit different. Do you see builders putting in their contracts more and more now, like escalation clauses to raise their, like, so some of the builders here were starting to put in there, like they can go up to 15% higher than the contract price at their discretion. Are you seeing that over there?
I have not seen that here yet. What I've been seeing is what the builders here in Georgia are doing is they're waiting for the third phase. That's to basically to be able to go under contract, right? Because of those building supplies, the amount of how much money things are costing. Right now, there is a builder here in my community. I'm not going to mention it because it's a big builder and I live in the community. So they are actually starting to accept bidding wars. So multiple offers. It's not about like now you go to this builder and say, this is the house I want. This is the lot I want. Nope. We'll just accept multiple offers and then we'll just go ahead with the best one.
Wow.
They're starting to do that here with lots. There's a builder over here that I found out that they are auctioning off, if you will, the lot. And a lot that would normally be $6,000, I heard one went for $55,000. That's just the lot price. And I'm like, how are y'all going to? So I don't know if they're like, hey, you got to come with cash for that. Because
they're going to have to.
Like appraisal issues and things like that.
Yeah, they're going to run into massive issues.
Something that actually happened to me, and unfortunately, my client wanted to terminate. And it was like, this is VA. We went under contract in February. My client went ahead, and I know this broker. It was, oh my gosh, what is it? He didn't comply with a contract. I can't remember how you call it right now. But we went under contract. This is for $710,000 $710,000 property. So we went under contract in February. The lot was he charged him, I think it's like $100,000 or $125,000 for the lot. And then the rest was to build and all that. So the builder got an offer for $200,000 for that lot. And this is for a VA client. And he basically tried to change the contract over and over again. And because he's a builder and he's the owner of that lot, my client terminated because the builder didn't want to, he had increased the price, but there was no stipulations on the contract though.
That's crazy.
It's a fantastic call to an attorney.
Yeah, exactly.
That is correct. And I had talked to my client and all that, and my client didn't want to do anything because he didn't understand. And I'm like, look, he is,
In breach.
oh my gosh, breach of contract.
Mm-hmm.
He's in breach of contract. And no, but then again, what can I do unless he finds an attorney on that? And I mean, the builder had all to lose there, but I mean, that creates a bad credibility on his end now too.
Yeah, no doubt.
So it's really interesting on how people are getting more greedier and greedier and greedier. When we went under contract in February, and then he wanted to raise the price of the property for $200,000.
Yeah,
the lot.
So, but you know what? This greed, like you brought up, it's crossing all spectrums. Like my old neighbor, I was went over to his house yesterday to go get an auger to give to one of my tenants to put a fence up, and so he's the vice president of operations for a large apartment complex builder, and he's having the same issue with supplies. He said that there's no petroleum shortage, there's no shortage of others. Like these manufacturers, they're controlling the output. Mm-hmm. To cause the supply and demand issue. So they can make, instead of making $20 a widget, they can make $40 a widget.
Yeah.
And so it's just a crazy the amount of greed that's going on around here.
It is insane. I mean, everything has been going up. Like somebody posted on Facebook yesterday, like the lumber price, like it's like $89 per
4x8
per log. Yeah, it's insane. When a few years ago, you could have just bought it like for $10, $15, or it's ridiculous. It's crazy how it is.
Oh yeah.
And especially like I always recommend like my assistant, which she's actually my best friend. We had talked about, she had a quote because she wanted to do her screen and porch and remodel her bathroom. She got it quoted $37,000. I told her look for different quotes. She went ahead and did it again, and she got quoted less than $20,000, like $15,000 to get the whole thing done.
Yeah, no, it's crazy the amount of greed out there, and sometimes they're just like trying to be out there to throw out a number and see if it sticks. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they do that. Like I've talked to several trades, and depending on how busy they are, they'll throw out a stupid number, and see if somebody bites, and then they'll drop the cheaper job to take the more expensive job.
Yeah, it's like the walk away price.
Yeah,
it's like here's a number. I'm just going to walk away. If you reach out to me, I'll be back.
I'm looking at somebody right now that's probably done that a time or two with the sandblasting, right?
Yeah, I've quoted some jobs before that were a little ridiculous because I didn't want to touch it.
Yeah. So cool. So in Georgia, what's kind of the biggest real estate aspect over there? Like, so here in San Antonio, we are super military heavy because we have Randolph Air Force Base, Lackland Air Force Base, Fort Sam, Houston. We have Camp Bullis. We have, and then you go to Austin, you got Camp Shelby. In Corpus Christi, you've got an Air Force Base. Del Rio, you got Texas is so heavy military. I know you got Warner Robins. You got Fort Benning, land of red clay. That place was horrible to be at. And then you've got Hunter Army Airfield. I think that's in Georgia, right there at the Florida-Georgia border. But do you have a lot of VA buyers around that area? I know where you're at specifically doesn't have a military base, but are you finding more and more VA buyers over there that may just want to stay in the area after they retire, but just kind of spread out a little bit?
I actually have a lot of when it has to do with VA, it has to do with people that have been actually they're retired or they're retiring. Like right now, I have a few of them that or they have bought a property and they're selling it and they're buying again another different property. But what I'm finding also too is a lot of people don't understand and do not have the knowledge of the benefits of having a VA loan. And that is unfortunately, especially in this area. And so usually like right now I have a few of my clients that are actually, one is in Pennsylvania, one is in Virginia, I think Virginia Beach. and they are relocating, but they're retiring here.
Yeah, well, I'm on the Military Affairs Committee for the San Antonio Board of Realtors, and one thing that we've tried to do and they're starting to work on is we're going to be doing a like video commercial kind of thing with, I think it's like the top 10 reasons why to use a VA loan. And like the number one thing that is universal no matter where you're at is the VA loan is the only loan that will allow the seller to contest the appraisal. And right now I'm trying to flex on that with my VA buyers that can't come up with a bunch of cash to bridge an appraisal issue. So, I reach out to the listing agent. I'm going to start writing like a little, honey-do letter to the sellers. You know how you usually do one for the buyer usually does one to the sellers? I'm going to think about starting to do one for me and highlight, hey, here are fantastic reasons why to accept a VA home loan. Yeah. And just highlight the advantages of it, and
so
good.
Did you go ahead and see like you should do like an offer tip in multiple offer markets. So whenever, I don't know if you saw that, but I actually shared that in the WhatsApp chat.
It's saved on my computer.
Okay, so do that, but do that for VA, and then just share it with me.
That's where I got that. That's where I got the idea from.
Yeah, okay. The reason why a lot of our VA loans don't get accepted around here recently is because of the issue with the slow catch-up rate for appraisals, VA loans here. Like they were getting tidewatered left and right when the market started kicking off here back in December, January timeframe. And then these appraisers were just coming in super low, and then everybody's like, well, I don't even want to accept a VA loan because it's so low.
Well, I have a theory about that. I think that they were so busy.
Probably.
They were just enacting Tidewater to give them a few days extra.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it.
Have you ever had Tidewater enacted, Cindy?
I have never heard of that. But
okay. You're lucky.
So for this VA, for this VA loan, our area is 7 days for appraisal.
Holy moly. We're at like 3 weeks.
Yeah. I mean,
good luck.
No, here is 7 days for appraisal, and we're closing. So we went under contract June 8th. We're closing on July 2nd.
Wow.
That's phenomenal. That's fast.
Like over
so
here.
That's very, go ahead.
No, like even over here, it's taken up to 4 weeks to get the HOA resale certificates.
Yeah. What kind of population density do you have over there?
What do you mean by density?
Like how many people are in the area you mainly work at?
I work all over the place, so it doesn't really matter where it is. I mean, I don't serve only one area. I work in 5 or 6 counties, probably 8 counties.
Are you in Fulton County?
The reason I've worked in Fulton County, Fulton County, Gwinnett County, Fulton, Cherokee County, which is Woodstock, and there's I work all over the place.
So she's probably very similar to us. We're probably about 2.5 million in our general area. So she's probably with Atlanta in there and stuff. She's probably in the same ballpark. That's just nuts to get an appraisal in 7 days.
Yeah, my cousin lives in Peachtree City. You know where that's at?
Yes, I do know that where that's at.
Yeah, she lives.
Cindy's gonna be like, "What's the address? I'll go over there."
Yeah,
I'll be like, "Okay, well, I'll Google it. Let me
condo.
see." Oh, I got Remind here.
Yeah. It's like a golf cart community over there where they live. She's like always posting pictures of them driving around golf carts.
So, Cindy, just so you know, if this ever pops up, if you ever hear the word Tidewater, it is an act within the VA loan that if the appraiser feels that the house will not meet appraisal, they can enact this Tidewater, and it gives 48 hours for the listing agent or any other party that wants to try and contribute comps to contest the appraisal, right? They don't come in and say, "Hey, your $300,000 house, I'm appraising it at $299." They don't give you the dollar amount. They just say, "Hey, you have 48 hours to get me everything you got to justify your contract price."
Yeah.
So FHA, conventional, they don't do that. But VA, it gives the seller the right to contest the appraisal if it comes in low.
That's really interesting because a lot of people are like, "Well, will it appraise?" or it's not going to pass VA loan. And it's the ignorance. And I'm not trying to insult anybody here, but there's a lot of ignorance when it comes to VA. Because let's say, for instance, FHA, if you go ahead and fight an FHA, it's going to be hard. If you fight a conventional, actually, it's going to be up to the client. Be like, hey, you know what? Either you take it or leave it, or walk away from it. But with VA, I have not had that yet.
Well, that's good.
Let me knock on wood now.
Knock on a lot of wood, yeah. So knocking on gold right there. But here's like the other thing, because you talk about ignorance, and ignorance isn't like doesn't necessarily have to be with an IQ and intelligence level, just not having that information, right? And so a lot of people, and veterans included, when they hear like they don't have any money down, they come over to me. Like I had one about a month and a half ago. They're like, hey, I want to get a VA loan. I'm like, all right, cool. What do you got for cash, right? And, this is a little bit more abrupt than what I was talking about. He's like, I don't have any cash. I'm like, how are you going to buy a house? Mm-hmm. So he's like, I've got a VA loan. I'm like, I don't have to put money down. I'm like, that's money down on the loan, but you still have closing costs.
Yep.
Right. So it goes back to education. Then a lot of people call it a VA inspector. The VA does not send an inspector out. It's the same appraiser that would come out. They just have like a little extra checklist on things they have to mark for the VA.
Yeah. And
so there's not a VA inspector. Yeah. And most of the time, like I've seen some stuff go VA that I'm like, oh, I got my fingers crossed, set up like an incense altar in the office, whatever. But, and it goes. The main thing is it has to have like a stove. Yep. It has to have like a source of heat. And then
no unfinished walls or floors.
Right.
Painted surfaces on the outside, like decking wood and all that has to be painted or stained.
No WDI, wood destroying insect requirements. That's pretty much about it.
Yeah.
And, but everybody thinks that there's going to be some drill sergeant coming out with a little drill sergeant hat and a clipboard and an angry, knife hand and be like, it's got to get fixed.
I don't know why those shingles aren't straight.
Right. I pity the fool that thinks it's going to go VA. But, so it'd be hilarious, but no. Yeah. So it goes back to education.
Yeah.
Right. And saying something, because there's a lot of people that are ignorant. And again, that's not a derogatory term. It's just they don't have that knowledge on the different aspects. And that's where it's our job as a listing agent or our job as the buyer's agent to kind of convey that education to the other party. And if we're the buyer's agent, conveying that information to the other party. Hey, look, as you know, right? You can always start with, as you know, because it makes them feel like you think that they're smart, right? And they could be like ignorant as hell. But hey, as you know, VA is the only loan that will allow the seller to contest the appraisal. Mm-hmm. So that's a guarantee opportunity for your client. Hey, as you know, VA doesn't have an inspector. It's just a regular appraiser that has a couple extra things they got to tick off. And as you know, your house has a stove, your house has finished floors and walls, and, there's no WDI issues and stuff like that. So as you know, there should be no issues with it going VA. And that's what I do with like some of the newer agents, because I'll look up their license number of whoever I'm dealing with to kind of get a gauge on what their experience level is. Mm-hmm. But I found that if you come in and say, as you know, it brings down a barrier of contention as I'm smarter than you.
Right.
So if you ever have that issue, just start off with, as you know.
And I usually tell them, well, you have to know this, and I just keep on talking. But yeah, Cool. But no, it's really, really interesting. I mean, especially the different markets and all that and how everything is. I mean, I know you guys have, it's insane how you guys do different things because you guys use a title company. We use an attorney. Right. I mean, here we can close as soon as 10 days. Not VA. I mean, the earliest I've seen that it can be closed is like 22 days, 10 days, depending on what it is, probably VA 10 days. But depends on how fast it could go, like with the appraisal and all that, due diligence period. I mean, if everything goes smooth as possible, then it can be closed. But depending on, it's the relationship with the lender. It's all going to come down to the lender too.
Yeah, no, it's especially if they're a national lender like Quicken Loans or something like that, they're going to be bogged down more than maybe a local lender. So
true, and it's like, go ahead.
No, I don't know. Do you have a company called Pilgrim Mortgage there?
I'm not so sure.
You might want to check it out and see if there's one in Georgia, because Pilgrim Mortgage does not have a credit score, a FICO credit score requirement for a VA loan. The VA loan itself does not have a credit score requirement. It is simply an overlay by the lender. So if you ever have a veteran that comes in and they have a lower credit score than whatever, like I've got somebody with a 450 credit score, a VA loan on a brand new house. And this was like 3 years ago when the interest rates were about 3.5. His interest rate was 4.25.
Mm-hmm. Which is really good
for like having a sub 500 credit score. Yeah. So
you said it's Pilgrim Homes?
Pilgrim Mortgage. You know, like the Mayflower.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yep.
So, I mean, as long as they got a little bit of cash, you know, to help with some closing costs, because obviously it's a little bit more of a risk, right? So there's going to be a little bit more.
They still have to debt to income qualify.
Yeah.
But the FICO score is not their contributing factor to acceptance or denial.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. I did not know that. I looked them up. Let me see if there's anything here in Georgia, though.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they're in Georgia. I know they're in a couple of different states, but there might be other companies around there
that probably have the same type of deal.
Like Mortgage Solutions. Mortgage Solutions, I don't think they had a credit score requirement either for VA loans. In fact, I know they did. The one I went with first.
So here, when it comes down to lenders, unfortunately, I have to technically look outside Georgia or anything near a base, because I've had several lenders that, for instance, in my case, so my brother is married to my brother-in-law, which is, he's in the Air Force, and they have several properties. I think they have like 5 or 6 properties, and they've done streamline. So let's say, for instance, they have a house in Minot, North Dakota, and then they bought where did they buy a house? They bought a house in, let's say, Louisiana.
Right.
And so I was trying to do the same thing too. So I was buying a house I had my house in Minot, North Dakota, and I was trying to buy a house here in Georgia. They told me that was not possible. I told them, yes, that is possible, as long as it didn't hit that,
the threshold.
Is it 5?
549 or something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, which now it doesn't So in this case, a lot of lenders have told me, no, you cannot do that. And I'm like, yes, you can't do that. So now I look for lending companies that actually work with VA and know what they're doing, but are reliable, because if they're not reliable, I cannot work with them. They're going to fail me, and I don't want that.
Right.
And it's hard to find a reliable lender.
I think it's Mutual of Omaha. They actually have a mortgage program, and they actually do mortgages across the country. And one of my agents actually took one of their VA loan classes and got certified through Mutual of Omaha for VA loans. So it's just like it's a free opportunity to get that designation, but you get put into their system that way too. So if you wanted to see if Mutual of Omaha does anything in Georgia, you can talk to them too.
I'm looking at it right now. And then I was going to tell you something else. There is that, and I can't remember right now. So tell me about, like, would you prefer, like, a lot of people come in with, USA. Oh, I remember now what I was going to tell you. Okay, what about the construction to perm loan, one-time closing? Have you ever dealt with that?
I have never dealt with that. I know what it is, but I've only done 2 builds that the owner did construction, like a loan like that. And both of them just took out the traditional construction loan and then did the final the wrap up when it was done.
Yeah, we have 2 here that do those.
Yeah, first.
So you're talking about Premier PRMI Mortgage, I think it is. They're in Dallas.
No. So the 2 that I had to use, they used the local lenders. One was Randolph Brooks Federal Credit Union, and then the other one was, I'm trying to think of who it was. It was somebody. There's a small bank in Gonzales, Texas, and basically they did the construction loan and then did the perm loan. But the one in Gonzales, they did the construction loan, and it went out into different phases, right? The different draws that they had to do, and then but my client only did a one-time close. So they did everything right up front, and then they just had to go in. They called it a one-time close. They still had to go in there and sign a couple of documents, but it was nothing significant. It was probably like 5 or 6 pages they had to go sign. But I know what you're talking about. I've just never have done them.
Yeah. I mean, that's a whole different like scenario and all that. Cause I've worked with 2 of them, and actually they have fallen through because they have not so when you go into construction to perm, you have to have your client understand that it's a long process, and some of them become very impatient, and they don't want to wait, or there's a lot of things like finding the right builder, you got the property, but finding the right builder and that is willing to go through that. But then again, it's just like building a home. It's not like, oh, you know what, I'm going to close next month. No, it takes 6 to 8 months, sometimes a year to go through that process.
Right. Now, here's one thing I did for one of my custom home builders, because they were looking at doing that, and then they talked to the builder, and then to see if the builder would just fund everything and they could just close one time at the end, and the builder just charged them whatever the interest they were going to have to pay. They just charged that interest to the client, and then the client didn't have to deal with anything, right? Because the builder was accepting all the risk. Because if they walked away, they walked away. But yeah, so
in this market, they're like, sell it for 50,000 more.
Right. But I mean, that's another option. If you can't find somebody to do the one-time close, or if you're having problems with finding somebody that can do a construction loan, talk to the builder. Because sometimes the builders, especially if they have been around for a while, they have a good business line of credit with their bank. They can front this stuff, and then they just carry off the interest and pass it, add it to the purchase price of the house, or figure out what that is, and then make the buyer use that as their down payment, and just drop it down. So a couple of different things you can do with construction. I like the idea of the one-time close because it's just simpler.
Yeah.
But
Frost Bank here. And then Jefferson Bank over in San Antonio does those.
Yeah.
Usually down here they have like the credit unions, but some of the credit unions, when you look at their interest rates, it's outrageous, and they're not that quick neither.
Right. Interesting. It's just interesting the different markets and what you got.
And then some of the builders, they're going to want a 20% down. So it's a 20% down, or sorry.
Sure.
Or cash.
Yeah. Right up front, huh?
Yeah, so it's really interesting how things work. But then you guys have the HOA and all that. You guys have to, how is your guys' closings over there? How is your guys' process of doing contracts and all that? Is it the same as here, or is it like?
Here's what we do. We get a house under contract. We take the contract to the title company with the earnest money and the option money. The option money, I know they call that different stuff everywhere, but that's the feasibility time. You here in Texas, everything's negotiable, but typically it's $10 per day that you're going to take the house off the market for your feasibility time. And then once you pass the feasibility time, you end up getting the title commitment about day 10. And then, then they're just waiting for the documents, right? So if you have to order a survey, they have to wait for the survey to come in. They got to order the HOA docs. They got to come in, just all kinds of different things. They're gathering all the data. Then you get the appraisal, and then they wrap everything up and close. So before it used to be 30 days. I'm putting about 40 to 45 days on my contracts now, but I'm having that conversation with the listing agent and saying, hey, look, here's the deal. We're going to close as soon as we can. But as you know, it's taking 20 up to 28 days for some of these HOAs to get the resale certificate. We're looking at like 3.5 weeks or so to get an appraisal back. Mm-hmm. I can put 30 days on there if that's attractive to your client. And then, but the reality is it's not going to happen.
Like, do they like writing extensions?
Right. And that's what I tell them. Like, look, I'm putting 40 days or 45 days on there because that's realistic.
Yeah.
And when you work with me, you deal with somebody that deals in the real world scenario. Mm-hmm. I can go right on there. We're going to close in 14 days if you want me to, but that's not going to happen.
Wow.
And so, but right now we're looking about 32 to 35 days is about the average right now. Yeah. But I've just started putting 45 days on there just because here's the thing, right? I do both. I do sells and I do buys. And everybody's frustration level gets ticked up once day 30 comes and we still don't have the appraisal back.
Yeah.
And everybody gets really mad because everybody hates HOAs to begin with. And then on day 29, we just got the HOA certificate, right? And so I just put in 40 to 45 days and having that discussion with that realtor with the as you know. Now, go talk to your clients, and if they want to counter back that day, I'm cool with it. I just like to be realistic right off the bat. But hey, I think we're about ticking out of time right now. Is there anything else you want to kind of go over real quick? So we're listened to in how many states?
It's a lot of places. But
a lot of places. Like
I think it's 7 or 8 countries, but I don't know if there's like only one guy in Indonesia that listens. Right. It's hard to see the analytics.
Yeah. So, but if you want to put out your information here, so that if there's anybody listening in Georgia, they can reach out to you and say, "Hey, I heard you on the podcast," and you give me a 55% referral fee. Just kidding. And then just put out, you put your information out there. Again, let us know when your book's coming out, what it's titled. It's going to be on the New York Times bestseller list, right?
It's going to be in the New York Times, Reader Digest, and I don't know where else it's going to be. It's also going to be in Audible too. So the title is going to be Becoming Successful in Real Estate, and then how I sold my first $15 million as a single mom. And then I have my podcast. Well, this is also going to be in my podcast, which is Real Estate, Divorce, Single Mom. So that's my podcast name.
Cool. Hey, so if you'll do us a favor too, just send us all your social links and all that so that I can put it in the show description notes, so it'll help the algorithm a little bit so people can find you.
Perfect. I'll do that then. Thank you very much.
Hey, no problem, Cindy. As always, it's great talking to you.
All right. Have a great day.
I'll talk to you at 7 o'clock 8 o'clock in the morning, your time tomorrow.
Yeah, definitely. I get that hour in to sleep. All right. Have a nice day.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
Bye, Cindy.
Bye.
So that's awesome. She's super knowledgeable.
Yeah. Sorry, I thought we were done.
No, we're not done yet, son.
Let me come on back over here. Sorry. I was getting ready to go. I have business to do, man.
All right, well, we'll wrap it up really quick. So, I just wanted to give you a little bit of a chance to kind of...
Yeah, so Cindy, she's very knowledgeable. Like, we didn't get too much into her background, but if you listen to her podcast, it's, I won't say a rags to riches kind of thing, but, she was a common person.
Yeah.
And she took adversity, and instead of running away from it and cowering towards it, she took it and manifested who she is now. And she's writing a book. She's a single mom with 2 kids. She went from no money into the bank to having a successful career.
Yeah.
Like we talked about, she failed her test 8 times. She's very tenactic.
Yeah.
Is tenactic a word?
We just created it.
Hey, there we go. Word of the day, tenactic.
There you go.
It's fantastic.
Fantastic with tenacity built in.
And we can leave Ina Kamosi alone.
There you go.
But fantastic woman. She was kind of toned down today. Like in our mastermind, she's like full throttle, man.
Yeah.
Well,
that's early in the morning, so she's waiting on that coffee bump at 3 o'clock.
Yeah. So, but super, super knowledgeable. Her and everybody else that's in my mastermind. It's just phenomenal to be able to bounce ideas because we look at things here just in Texas.
Yeah.
And I think there's like 12 or 13 states represented in our mastermind. And to get all the different experiences. Some people, I think the newest agent has been in for like 4 months, 5 months. And then there's others that have been in real estate and sold land to to Noah so he could go chop the trees down and buy and build a boat. So it's really cool. So it's awesome that Cindy was able to take some time out of her busy schedule to come on here and talk to us Texas boys.
Absolutely. Well, we'll get her information put up in the show notes. You guys can go check her out. We really appreciate you guys listening for this last 45 minutes of us rant on about the real estate market. But as you guys all know, it's important information. You got to know. If you don't have anywhere to get your sources of information about real estate, you can definitely check back here, San Antonio Realty Pros.
Yeah. So send us a message if you got something specific.
Yeah, we're also asking people to go to Google and review the Karis Randolph company page. So if you just type in Karis Randolph on Google and just write a review if you like, even if it's about the show, if you just like the company, our real estate company, if you've done business with David or myself, we're asking for reviews. It helps bump our SEO to the top.
No haters.
I think we're on
just congratulators.
Page 25 right now. But anyway, we'll check you guys out in the next show. I hope you guys enjoyed today, and we'll see you next time.